The Household Cavalry is home to two of the most senior regiments, the Life Guards and the Blues and Royals. Their base is at Hyde Park Barracks in central London.
The role of both the Blues and Royals and the Life Guards in London is largely the same. They both operate to do state ceremonial and public duties, and they operate as the Queen's personal bodyguard. They're the two senior regiments in the British Army, and each day take over as protectors of Her Majesty the Queen. Every 24 hours they'll switch over, with the Life Guards doing one. They're obvious as they're dressed in red, and then the next 24 hours they're dressed in blue. Every day they ride down from here in London to Horse Guards Parade, where they take over their guard. So the day starts here at about 5:30, where people get up and move onto the yards. They'll be in the yards from 5:45 to 6, where they'll be mucking out, getting ready for the morning's day. If they're going on guard, horses will go out at 6:30, where they'll do about a half hour, 45 minutes, what we call a guard X, which is just getting them used to the day and making sure that they're not too fresh when they go out in London.
So at the moment we've got roughly 223 horses across the regiment. At the moment we've got a smaller amount here, roughly between 100 and 140. What you see is a lot of Irish sport horses because of the way the market's going, but usually we'd look for good Irish draft horses. The standard of care is vitally important when we're here. We're taking them out of a natural environment and putting them into a stabled environment in central London, so there's a lot of care that has to go into the animals when we're here. We've got no paddocks here to turn horses out, so we have to exercise 6 times a week. And then on a Sunday they will leave their stables and off on the walker or walk in hand around the yard.
So all soldiers go through phase 1 and phase 2 training before coming here, and then they get loaded onto the riding course, which is 5 months of 0 to hero. Here is a horse, and here is how you look after it, here is how you ride it, and here is how you put it in shiny kit. And I would argue that it is one of the most difficult courses I've certainly ever had to do. It demands a lot of courage daily, certainly a lot of discipline under long hours, and it really makes Household Cavalrymen who they are.
Today is a unique day as we build up to the Lord Mayor's show on Saturday. We have alongside us the Household Cavalry Band, who are also a mounted band. They're all trained musicians, they're also trained horsemen.
So when you're riding a band horse, they tend to be chosen for that job, for their ability to just basically sit one behind the other and move forward. It's very difficult to play and ride at the same time, but they're always in contact with the reins. So you'll note that they loop the rein around their forearm when they're riding. So they're keeping some element of contact as they're going around. But it's basically a game of getting the right horse in the right place and just follow the one in front. Their legs are still working for direction and pace going forward, so they're still in the correct body position, but they just get a bit tied up with their hands. The drum horses are very special. They take a long time to train. We spend usually between 3 and 5 years training them. And then once they've finished their training, they are named by Her Majesty the Queen.
My job here is the Farrier Major, so I run all the farriers and make sure the continuation of training happens on a day-to-day, and all the horses are shod to a high standard for parades for things like Queen's Life Guard and Queen's Birthday parades. We can have anywhere up to 200 horses in this camp, and we shoe them approximately every 4 to 5 weeks, so there's clearly a lot of shoeing happening inside this camp. So on the day-to-day, what we do, every Monday we'll go around every single one of our horses and we'll check every single foot. On that we'll make a list of what needs shoeing through that week. When we bring the horses in, we'll check the amount of foot, we'll trim their feet and apply new horseshoes to their feet so they've got plenty of grip and support when they're out on the roads. Because we are a regiment of tradition, we still brand our horses' feet, which doesn't hurt them, there's no nerve endings, and that's also their squadron numbers and their separate identity numbers.
Preparation before an inspection is hectic, to say the least. There's a lot of hard work and effort goes into it. The grooming can take sort of an hour up to 2 hours before each parade, and the same will go with the tack. The tack can take up to 8 hours from the night before, and we're looking to really make all the leather as shiny as possible and all the whites of the leather as white as possible.
So what I'm doing at the moment is just tinning in some reins, so they've just been lagged up, so I'm just tinning them in, and I'm going to put some polish on them in a minute to make them nice and shiny. This will all get inspected tomorrow.
This tack is at the required standard for Queen's Life Guard, probably pretty clean. So this is where we need to be to just leave the gate. So this is like the standard for everyone, and this will be hours and hours last night of getting it ready to go out.
Each day, the troops get inspected on their kit. The reason why it's competitive and important is if you're the cleanest soldier with the best kit, you get the best jobs down at Horse Guards. If you're the least clean or the dirtiest, then you get the longest work over the next 24 hours.
The inspection was okay today. It could be better. In theory, they've got less kit to clean because they're in winter order, i.e. the cloaks. Normally the summer order is where you see them in the big shiny cuirasses and the big crossbelts, which take a lot more time and attention. That said, they were certainly all up to the standard. It's just slight attention to detail which put some of them against the rest, but none were at a standard which was low enough to get them pulled off. There is a possibility of someone getting taken off their horse at every inspection, should they not be at the standard. They should leave at 10:30 on the dot and arrive at Horse Guards Parade at 11 when the clock chimes, and that enables them to walk down there at a fairly steady pace under a police escort to ensure that there are no delays. It's a very nice journey. You go down all the way to Hyde Park Corner, through Wellington Arch, then down to Buckingham Palace, past Buckingham Palace, down the Mall, and then into Horse Guards Parade.
We don't want the horses too fit. We want them to a low level to be able to do the job that we do, but with more fitness comes more energy, and the last thing you want on parade is exuberance, let's put it that way. Imagine 250 children or half-ton toddlers. Each horse is individual in itself. The more and the longer time they do it, the better they become at it, as any soldier. But we do have to work with them individually. Some of them have vices that we need to look at, and we marry up the riders to the horses. Other ones, certainly that have been here a while, done a lot of service, they tend to be the universal horses you can put anyone on.
So once they arrive at Horse Guards Parade, when they take over the guard change at 11 o'clock, they then take over as Sovereign's bodyguard at the official entrance to Buckingham Palace. That's a 24-hour guard where if anyone were to come through, they are to challenge any threats to Her Majesty. Additionally to that, we also have a public engagement role where hundreds of people will come to see either the 11 o'clock change, the horses and the soldiers themselves, or the 4 o'clock inspection.
Yeah, I'm immensely proud of the job I get to do. I get to work incredibly close to the soldiers that I chose to join the regiment for. I get to learn with them as well as lead them. And then all of the work kind of culminates in the most magnificent state occasions that you can't really put into words.
I've been here a lot of years and I joined specifically to do this job. I love all the pomp, I love all the ceremony, but I love what it represents. I love the history behind it as well. The long days, some long nights as well, and very early mornings, but it all works to show off Great Britain in the things that it does. World renowned for that, in fact.